Sir Thomas Richardson was an English judge and politician who sat in the House of Commons from 1621 to 1622. He was Speaker of the House of Commons for this Parliament. He was later Chief Justice of the Common Pleas and Chief Justice of the King's Bench. Background and early life. Richardson was born at Hardwick, Deptford Hundred, Norfolk, and was baptised there on 3 July 1569. The son of William Richardson, whose family were said to be descended from the younger son of a Norman family, John, who moved to County Durham in about 1100. Other branches of the family included the Richardsons of the Briery in County Durham, and the Richardsons of Glanbradam Park and Pantagwyddiaeth, Wales. He was educated at Norwich School. On 5 March 1587 he was admitted a student at Lincoln's Inn, where he was called to the bar on 28 January 1595. In 1605 he was deputy steward to the Dean and Chapter of Norwich. He was subsequently recorder of Bury St Edmunds and then Norwich. In 1614 he was lent reader at Lincoln's Inn, and on 13 October of the same year became sergeant at law. At about the same time he was made Chancellor to the Queen. Speaker of the House of Commons. In 1621, Richardson was elected Member of Parliament for St Albans. When Parliament met on 30 January 1621, he was chosen Speaker of the House of Commons. The excuses which he made before accepting this office appear to have been more than formal, for an eyewitness reports that he wept downright. On 25 March 1621 he was knighted at Whitehall when he brought King James congratulations of the Commons upon the recent censure of Sir Giles Mompesson. In the chair he proved a veritable kinglog, and his term of office was marked by the degradation of Bacon. He was not re-elected to Parliament in the next election. Judicial advancement. On 20 February 1625 Richardson was made King's Sergeant. On 28 November 1626 he succeeded Sir Henry Hobart as Chief Justice of the Common Pleas, after a vacancy of nearly a year. His advancement was said to have cost him £17,000 and his second marriage. He judged on 13 November 1628 that it was illegal to use the rack to elicit confession from Felton, the murderer of Duke of Buckingham's. His opinion had the concurrence of his colleagues and marks a significant point in the history of English criminal jurisprudence. In the following December he presided at the trial of 3 of the Jesuits arrested in Clerkenwell, and secured the acquittal of 2 of them by requiring proof, which was not forthcoming, of their orders. In the same year he took part in the careful review of the law of constructive treason. This arose from the case of Hugh Pine, who was charged with the crime for speaking words that were derogatory to the King's Majesty. The result of Richardson's review was to limit the offence to cases of imagining the King's death. He concurred in the guarded and somewhat evasive opinion on the extent of privilege of Parliament which the King elicited from the judges after the turbulent scenes which preceded the dissolution of Parliament on 4 March 1629. He was as lenient as he could be when he imposed a fine of £500, without imprisonment in the case of Richard Chambers, and his agreement with harsh sentences passed upon Alexander Leighton and William Prynne may have been dictated by timidity, and they contrast strongly with the tenderness which he showed Henry Sherfield, the iconoclastic bencher of Lincoln's Inn, Chief Justice of the King's Bench. Richardson was advanced to the Chief Justiceship of the King's Bench on 24 October 1631, and served on the Western Circuit. circuit. He was not a Puritan, but in Lent 1632 he made an order, at the instance of the Somerset magistrates, for suppressing the wakes Sunday revels, which were a fertile source of crime in the county. He directed the order to be read in church, and this brought him into conflict with Laud, who sent for him and told him it was the king's pleasure he should rescind the order. Richardson ignored this instruction until the king himself repeated it. He then, at the ensuing summer assizes, laid the matter fairly before the justices and grand jury, professing his inability to comply with the royal mandate on the ground that the order had been made by the joint consent of the whole bench, and was in fact a mere confirmation and enlargement of similar orders made in the county since the time of Queen Elizabeth, all which he substantiated from the county records. This caused him to be cited before the council, reprimanded, and transferred to the Essex circuit. "I am like," he muttered as he left the council board, "to be choked with the Archbishop's lawn sleeves." Richardson died at his house in Chancery Lane on the 4th of February 1635, and was buried in the north aisle of the choir of Westminster Abbey. Beneath a marble monument, there is a bust by Hubert Lesueur. Judicial reputation. Richardson was a capable lawyer and a weak man, much addicted to flouts and jeers. "Let him have the Book of Martyrs," he said. When the question whether Prince should be allowed the use of books was before the court, for the Puritans do account him a martyr, he could also make a caustic jest at his own expense. "You see now," he dryly remarked, as he avoided a missile aimed at him by a condemned felon by stooping low, "if I had been an upright judge I had been slain." He possessed some polite learning, which caused John Taylor, the water poet, to dedicate to him one of the impressions of his Superbii Flagellum. Family and posterity. Richardson married twice. His first wife, Ursula Southwell, was the third daughter of John Southwell of Barham Hall, Suffolk. She was buried at St. Andrews, Holborn, on the 13th of June 1624. His second wife married at St. Giles in the Fields, Middlesex, on the 14th of December 1626, was Elizabeth, widow of Sir John Ashburnham and daughter of Sir Thomas Beaumont of Stoughton, Leicestershire. She was the first Duke of Buckingham's maternal second cousin once removed. Richardson had 12 children by his first wife, of whom 4 daughters and 1 son, Thomas, survived him. By his second wife he had no issue. She was created on the 28th of February 1629 Lady Cramond in the Peerage of Scotland. For life was remainder to her stepson, Sir Thomas Richardson, K.B. Sir Thomas died in her lifetime on the 12th of March 1645, and his son Thomas succeeded to the peerage on her death in April 1651. The title became extinct by the death, without issue, of William, the 5th Lord, in 1735. Bibliography. Harries R. Cattermole, P. Mackintosh, P. A History of Norwich School, King Edward VI's a grammar school at Norwich. Norwich, Friends of Norwich School. ISBN 97809518561-1-6.